Hi, this is Rachel May. Nice to be with you again. And if you're a first-time listener, welcome to my little cast, my sound-only video for the moment. I'm talking on spiritual development and spiritual subjects. And just so you know, if you can subscribe, that's great. If you can make a comment, that is also great under the video. And if you have a question or a subject you would like me to bring through information on, just let me know. I'd be most happy. And I'm looking for subjects. There are plenty of subjects. I'm trying to stay on the spiritual for now and not go into the political so much. There are some very good mediums doing extremely detailed political readings at the moment, and there just seems to be a lot going on there. So I've decided to go back to my roots and deal with the spiritual, and I hope you enjoy these talks. So if you'd like a personal reading, I will leave my email address underneath the video, and you can email me, put reading or phone reading in the subject line, so I know. I get a lot of emails. And I look forward to connecting with you if that's what you would like to do, or if you would just like to find out more about my phone sessions, my personal sessions. Okay. And I sometimes do classes such as psychic training and topical subjects as well, where I channel. Usually it's not more than 6 people in the class, and it's a phone class. Okay, so here goes. I'm a bit concerned about Kilawuaea. I don't say I have a bad feeling as such. I mean, I don't feel very happy about the cause of all this eruption, but I do also see it as the planet releasing pain, basically. Volcanoes have to do with such things as pain and anger. Hawaii is one of the last remnants of the feminine energy civilization of Lemuria, which sank underneath the Pacific 12,000 years ago. And there are islands throughout the Pacific, which are the tops of mountains that were mountains in Lemuria, and it's all that's left above the ocean of Lemuria. Feminine energy civilization. If you go to the Atlantic, there's the sunken Atlantis, which was quite a masculine energy civilization, which actually sank shortly after Lemuria. There's a very big story there. But my feeling is, I actually feel at the moment that this is almost cancerous, and I wanted to ask Pele, the goddess of the volcano Kilawuaea, if she has anything to say. And she says, yes, you're right, I am angry. And it's sort of like I see her almost as like a thunderstorm, this raging energy. It's not hateful anger, it's the abuse of the feminine that has been going on for a long time. But at the moment, although women are increasingly taking back their power, and each generation of women is becoming stronger and more self-determined, the backlash against this has been, pretty severe. So you have everything from Hollywood to politics. Look at the anti-women rulings and so on coming in America. To these destabilized Middle Eastern countries, which are quite barbaric in many ways, some of them. The sort of raging, uncontrolled, unbalanced masculine energy forces have been going rather wild. So things actually on the surface in some ways have got worse. Although what I see above that and underneath it is that they're not really getting worse. A lot of this things getting worse is apparent, but if you're caught in it, if you're caught up in it, in some cases really God help you. Because, yes, they are volunteers for the most part who, knew before they were born that they would go through these experiences. But I don't like to get too complicated about things. I mean, I did a lot of spiritual study when I was very young, and I do understand that we choose our life, and we tend to choose the major incidents of our lives before we even come into the body that we also chose. But I like the direct and simple way of looking at things too, that, some things are just not right. And some people need help and some people deserve our sympathy. And what we want is a level playing field. Pele is saying, I want to right the wrongs. I'm so angry. And yet this is the anger of pain. I feel the pain of my sisters. I feel the pain of the earth. And you're right, it is something like a cancer. This spewing has got to come out somewhere, and I volunteered for this. And there are people like yourself who know that this is about the abused feminine and releasing the pain of the abused feminine and the abused planet. And right now the planet is being considerably more abused. That has been stepped up, although many of you good souls are working to help the ecology, to help the planet, to help the land, to help the creatures. At the same time, corporate interests have run wild. And what you don't see, and most of you don't know, is that this is actually kind of driving nature mad. This abuse and cruelty has got to a point where all hell could break loose. Because it has to come out somewhere. You can't just keep abusing and torturing and tormenting and poisoning and bulldozing and slamming concrete on a living being and spewing out plastic everywhere into the oceans, onto the land, killing the wildlife. You're poisoning yourself and you don't know it. And the moment as I look at this and I channel Pele, it looks like, it's just getting worse and worse, and it looks like destruction is imminent. But what I feel about that is that's probably not what's going to happen. But what I feel about it is that nature herself, and these nature gods and spirits which are everywhere, and so a lot of the animals, a lot of plants, they feel their very lives are threatened, and many of them are right. I live in the desert myself, and we haven't had rain for many months here, and we've had a lot of drought in recent years. I mean, yes, it's a desert, but when I was first here, we got several times a year a really good heavy rain that would go on for a couple of days, sometimes for a week. And the cacti would replenish, the plants would grow, quite a lot of grass would grow in the right places. It's not happening now. That I've never seen the cacti. They look like paper thin, the prickly pears. And the saguaro cacti have had the most magnificent flowering this year, which is, of course, what they will do if they believe their life can be threatened, is to put out as many seeds as possible. The interference in the weather, and it's not particularly accidental, is causing great suffering, and more so to the defenseless creatures and plants than most humans. Well, at least in America, they can get water. In most situations, they can get reasonable water. I know it's not true in many places. And they even in the desert have laws that you cannot give water to wild animals. You get these bobcats and coyotes, they come in to the gardens. They do sometimes take cats and dogs. They're looking for water. There's no water out there. And Kroger and many other companies, this is Cave Creek. There was a creek here, not anymore. Kroger bottles it and sells it. So the river is gone. And there's been less and less runoff because, just as no rain now, there's no snow in the winter to create the runoff from the mountains. So it all feels quite thirsty and desperate. I feel that the animals are quite desperate. And I guess I feel it all the time. It's very hard to, it takes great discipline to put oneself in a peaceful place where you feel that everything's all right. Actually, everything is not that all right in many ways right now. So back to you, Pele. Can I ask you, how do you see things going on the planet in terms of the health of the ecosystem and the environment, and what we can look to in the future? You're saying, well, you see the future. I am very emotional. My nature is pretty much 100% feminine. We all have both genders within our being, energetically, of course. But I am the essence of female. I am the essence of feminine, and my strongest quality is response and protectiveness. I guard this mountain, volcano. I guard this island. I see what's going on, and at this point I have to say I'm a very angry goddess. I don't know if you can see what I can see, but she's an amazing being. Huge being. Very powerful. I have given permission for my body to be used for the spewing forth of lava. Very few people really understand what's happening here, what I'm going through, what I'm bringing through my body. And you are right, it is like a disease, but it must come out. It must come to the surface. It must come out. You could call it my nervous breakdown. It's a massive nervous breakdown that I'm having. But I have given permission for this anger to be released from the earth in fiery hot rivers and spewing forth flame and fire through my body, through the body of myself. And let me tell you, this is not fun for me either. But it must come out. You see, if I don't let this out, you have tectonic plates. I'm trying to save your lives. You have what's called the Ring of Fire that runs around the Pacific and runs down the American West Coast, all around. Many volcanoes and much potential for earthquakes and extreme disaster and the loss of millions of your lives. And most people are not thinking so much about the animal lives. They're my dear babies. I'm going through this to save all these lives. So yes, it will be all right. But I see that even most of your psychics are saying it's okay and it's not a problem. And I'm just rebuilding the island. No, the island did not need rebuilding. Do you think I like scorching my trees and my animals and even burning the houses of the people, humans? Do you think I enjoy this? I was sworn to protect these on my shores, on my slopes. I'm allowing it to prevent a much worse disaster that actually threatens the very life of your planet, our planet. I have guarded this place for many, many thousands of years. I have erupted many times and thereby discharged energies abusive of the feminine, of women and girls and nature and the planet, and thereby discharged just like steam coming out of a kettle, just like a pressure valve. I've always hoped for some quiet times, but I've always felt it bubbling up. I channel so much of your negative energy out to where it can do the least harm. Make no mistake, every natural phenomenon, so-called natural phenomenon, disaster, if you like, displacement, it's all the result of so-called human aberration. This volcano was not even meant to be in the first place. It started, like all volcanoes, with the abuse of the feminine on Earth. Yes, and 12,000 years ago wasn't the first time that started to happen. It was there at the start. So we volcanoes started very early on, and it was all to do with pain, sadness, grief, and anger having to come out, just like acne or boils on your skins and your faces that come from abuse and cruelty. I don't see this cleanup that so many of you want in terms of corruption being cleared away. And integrity in high places. It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to come. I see 18 months to 2.5 years probably of really sorting out a very bad mess. And then increasing peacefulness in your systems, in your organization of your societies. But who knows how long it's going to take you humans to sort yourselves out. More of your activism is needed. Those of you who have hearts, and not everyone does, those of you who have passion, those of you who think rightly, those of you who care about oppression and the vulnerable, those of you who love the earth and want to help her and put things right on your planet, need to do everything that you can. And it starts with you. Clean up your acts, children. If you're unclear about how things work, then find out how things work. You're equipped to do this. God has given you brains and hearts, minds, feelings, great sensitivity, desires. God has given you everything that you need to know how things work, to find out how things work. Yes, you're traumatized and educated away from your curiosity and your empowerment. You know, nearly everyone is partially disempowered at least. However, you can overcome that. And now more than ever, your gifts are needed. Go out, go forward, and save your planet. There is more at stake than your lives. We nature spirits, gods and goddesses, seem to feel it more than you do. We are big and we feel very deeply. And those of us of a feminine nature cannot shut out our feelings, cannot shut them down. We are pure feeling. I am pure feeling. I am the essence of the feminine. And I very much, in some ways, am the essence of the abused feminine. And yes, it has been going on for a long time. I can be happy and peaceful, but I am touchy, and I do feel everything that happens in this world. I do feel everything that happens on this earth. I do feel what the earth is feeling constantly. It's a very demanding job being a goddess. Those of you who take time out, I don't take time out. Yes, when in periods of relative peace, I go quiet, but my dreams are still troubled. It's a long time since this earth was peaceful. And even that didn't last all that long. So my dreams, my sleeping dreams, are often troubled. I love when a child comes and makes an offering, or they can be a grown-up. With the heart of a child, the innocence of a child, comes and makes an offering of a flower to myself. So few people, so few of your kind realize that I'm a person too. I'm bigger than you. I'm very powerful. I came into this mountain, and I made this mountain because of certain things that were going on here. And I cannot rest until all this stops, until all this negative activity of humans on this planet stops. I have endured through the ages, and I will endure through ages to come. But for me to be healed of all this pain, is a long time. I have greatness, I have power, I have force. But I give permission, just as a mother, loving mother, allows her children to throw anger at her sometimes, and especially with young children, puts up with quite a lot, to the point where she maybe feels she can't go on. It's the same for me. I am tired. You are tired. We are all tired. But this ceaseless activity against the mother needs to stop. I thank you so much for giving me a voice and listening to me this day. I love you all. Go in peace.